Hello and welcome to World News here on TVP World. I'm Anna Kalczyńska. Good morning. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer says a coalition of the willing, comprising countries like Ukraine, Britain and France, will provide a 4-point plan to US President Donald Trump to guarantee the end of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. It comes as the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen reiterated on Sunday that member states must be rearmed. Our EU correspondent Angela Skujins joins us from Brussels. Good morning, Angela. Tell us, please, more about this 4-point plan. What do these countries want to offer to guarantee peace between Russia and Ukraine?
Yes, so what we know is that UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer outlined the basics of this 4-point plan. The aim there is to end Russia's ongoing invasion of Ukraine, which this year entered its 4th year. Now, the first point of that plan is to ensure that Ukraine is still offered military aid and economic pressure is still exerted against Russia. The second point is ensuring that Ukraine is at the table for these ceasefire negotiations. We've heard the rhetoric from European leaders that without Kyiv there, lasting peace will not be secured. The third point is that boosting Ukraine's defence capabilities if peace is brokered. I think what Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy is worried about, that if the ceasefire is brokered, that Russia could once again exert itself there. So ensuring that its military is up to scratch to defend itself is of high importance. And the fourth point is developing this coalition of the willing to defend a deal in Ukraine and to offer peace guarantees. What we know is that the UK, France and Ukraine are part of this coalition of the willing. We don't know who else is meant to be members of this group, but this plan comes off the back of 18 heads of state as well as European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen was in London yesterday to firm up Europe's position regarding where it stands for these ceasefire talks. So we'll wait and see regarding what other names could be expected as part of this coalition. But we also know that French President Emmanuel Macron has told French press that London and France want to offer a 1-month truce between Ukraine and Russia. They will go in there to ensure and offer security guarantees, whether that's in the air or by sea, to ensure that a truce can be brokered. But, heads of state will be in Brussels on Thursday for a high-level European Council summit where defence will be spoken about. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said yesterday that security guarantees are crucial to ensuring that lasting peace is guaranteed there. We'll also wait and see what she means by that rearmament comment. But that is all from Brussels. I'll send it back to you in the studio.
Angela Skujins, thank you so much. And Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy said Ukraine is ready to sign the cooperation agreement on the extraction of rare earth with the United States. Let's remind that this deal was supposed to be signed on Friday in Washington, but Zelenskyy's visit was cut short following an argument with Donald Trump. We are reaching now to our correspondent in Kyiv, Oz Katerji. Hello, Oz. So how is exactly Ukraine looking at the deal with the US right now?
Well, I think the Ukrainians still want some kind of partnership with the United States. Zelenskyy has said as much over and over again that the only real security guarantees that Ukraine is looking for are ones that are guaranteed by the United States. And European leaders have been encouraging Zelenskyy to go back and sign the deal. For Zelenskyy's part, he has reiterated that he wants to sign the mineral deal. Let's take a listen to what he had to say in the nightly address given on Sunday night.
The minerals agreement is ready. We are very consistent people. There were many options, there is a final version, and it is ready. The ministers can sign it. As president, I said that we can do it. We are not taking any steps back. Our policy is to be consistent. Despite what happened earlier, we remain constructive. If we say that we will sign, we are ready to sign. I honestly think that the United States will be ready as well.
So there we go, from the horse's mouth. Zelenskyy is willing to sign this deal, but the fact remains that the Ukrainians want some kind of security guarantee from the United States, and that still hasn't been forthcoming. And there are figures in the White House that are clearly very hostile, not just to Zelenskyy himself, but to Ukraine as a country, and are not interested in supporting Ukraine further. Many of them see this transactional approach as this deal paying back the United States for what they've already invested in Ukraine. The Ukrainians have a very different idea of what this mineral deal was supposed to represent.
Oz Katerji from Kyiv. Thank you so much, Oz, for these clarifications. In an interview for American network ABC, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio downplayed Donald Trump's row with Volodymyr Zelenskyy and the U.S. president, calling his Ukrainian counterpart a dictator, while sparing Russian leader Vladimir Putin. Rubio also argued that concerns regarding Moscow's inclination to keep their end to the bargain in any peace deal are not constructive.
No one here is claiming Vladimir Putin is going to get the Nobel Peace Prize this year, or that he should be the Man of the Year of the Humanitarian Association. What we're arguing here is he has a very large country. They're in full war footing. They're cranking out weapons now at a war footing pace, and we need to figure out, is there a way to get them to stop the war? And the only way you're going to do that is to get Russians engaged in negotiations, something the Europeans haven't been able to do, the Biden administration wasn't able to do or didn't even try. That's the goal here.
Over the weekend, Russian military forces launched a series of strikes targeting Ukrainian infrastructure, with a particularly deadly attack in Kharkiv. Ukrainian forces have continued to successfully repel multiple Russian attacks across various fronts over the past 24 hours. On March 2nd, Russian missiles struck the city of Kharkiv, injuring 8 people, including a child. Local authorities reported widespread damage as the city continues to endure repeated assaults from Russian forces. Meanwhile, similar attacks occurred in Kyiv, where a woman was injured and local businesses and a hospital was damaged. The ongoing strikes highlight the ongoing brutality of the conflict as Russia intensifies its assault on Ukrainian cities. On the Russian side, a major fire broke out at the Ufimsky oil refinery in Ufa, some 1,400 kilometers inside Russia, on March 3rd. The cause remains unconfirmed, but Ukrainian forces have repeatedly targeted Russian oil facilities with drone strikes since the spring of 2024. These attacks have been part of Ukraine's strategy to disrupt Russia's oil industry, which funds its military operations. The incoming German government may significantly raise the country's defense spending. News agency Reuters reports that the parties involved in coalition negotiations want to set up a special defense fund, which could boost Germany's military spending by hundreds of billions of euro. Following his party's election victory last month, Christian Democrat leader and likely Germany's next chancellor, Friedrich Merz, has said that Germany should seek independence from the US and boost its own defensive capabilities. Berlin currently spends around 2% of its GDP on defense, but has only reached the alliance's 2% goal recently. And Nord Stream 2 may still see a revival. A former spy and close friend of Vladimir Putin is pushing to restart Russia's Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline to Europe. His efforts now have the backing of US investors. Matthias Warnich, an ex-Stasi officer from East Germany who ran Nord Stream 2's parent company for Kremlin-controlled gas giant Gazprom until 2023, is the man behind the plan. According to sources close to the prospective deal, Warnich decided to approach the Trump administration through American entrepreneurs. The subject fell on fertile ground as the relationship between Kyiv and Washington deteriorates and economic ties between the US and Russia tighten. Any such deal between Washington and Moscow could require the US to lift sanctions against Russia, and some American investors have reportedly expressed interest in possible cooperation. Other reports suggest that some EU officials have become aware of these talks and expressed concern over these developments. There is no unity of opinion on the seizing of Russian assets, said Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk during a press briefing on Sunday. His statement follows in the wake of the Ukrainian summit held in London, which focused on achieving durable and lasting peace in Ukraine.
W tej sprawie nie ma jedności poglądów.
There is no unity of opinion on this issue. Or to put it another way, everyone knows that it would be best to seize Russian assets and allocate them to the defense and rebuilding of Ukraine. But some fear the adverse consequences of such a move, whether for the euro or the banking system. Therefore, enthusiasm for this solution is limited. Poland is very much in favor, but also let's not fool ourselves. Since we are not in the eurozone, Warsaw will not be the deciding voice on this matter.
Nie wszędzie.
This week, Poland will begin a mass deportation campaign against foreign criminals. Polish authorities say it will be the largest such effort since 1989. Poland is set to deport foreign criminal groups that are becoming a growing problem in the country. The Polish Prime Minister said that the soon-to-be-launched deportation campaign will target foreigners who have broken Polish law. The first wave of deportees, according to his words, will be sent to Georgia. Georgian gangs have been notoriously active in Poland recently. The upcoming presidential election in Poland is a referendum on the government of Donald Tusk, says presidential candidate Karol Nawrocki, supported by the biggest opposition party in Poland, Law and Justice. At yesterday's program convention, Nawrocki has outlined some of his priorities, which include lowering taxes and energy prices, as well as strengthening the Polish army. Our reporter Ovidiusz Nicieja was at the convention and has more.
Karol Nawrocki, candidate supported by Poland's biggest opposition party, has presented his program. During a speech that lasted almost 2.5 hours during the program convention, Karol Nawrocki, a historian, has outlined some of his priorities in this electoral campaign. He says that he is in favor of big investments in infrastructure and atomic energy. He has said that he is proposing a creation of a fund for the development of breakthrough technologies in Poland. He says he is in favor of lowering taxes, of lowering energy prices, and continuing high spending on defense. Even though the office of president in Poland is largely representative, the president also has a veto power to block some of the legislation coming from the parliament. Now, Nawrocki is an independent. He says himself that he's a civic candidate. He is supported by Law and Justice, and we saw here some of the major Law and Justice figures, including former Prime Minister, although he is an outsider and he is not associated with the 8 years that Law and Justice was in power in Poland. So far, this gamble is not paying off. Polls suggest that Karol Nawrocki is trailing Warsaw Mayor and Tusk ally Rafał Trzaskowski in the polls. Also, a recent poll has shown that Karol Nawrocki is even behind far-right candidate Sławomir Mencen. However, these are just opinion polls. The most important one will be on the election night, and this will be on the 18th of May.
And that's a wrap for this edition of World News. Thank you very much for watching, but stay close for more news and more commentary here on TVP World.